Look at the physics of scale. If you want to map the orbit of a swirling galaxy, you use a specific set of gravitational equations. But applying those exact same equations to the quantum orbit of a single electron produces complete nonsense. Physicists call this a category mistake. The math is perfectly accurate, but applying a law to the wrong scale of reality breaks the system entirely. Human civilization operates on two completely different scales. You have the scale of the single person, or the soul, the private realm of meaning, patience, and ultimate truth. Then you have the scale of the state, the public realm of roads, courts, and plumbing. Treating a nation like a soul is a category mistake. Trying to use the machinery of the government to solve the problems of the human spirit creates a structural error that reliably ends in catastrophe. In 1836, a Russian gentleman named Pyotr Chaadaev looked at the sprawling, messianic Russian Empire and diagnosed this exact system crash playing out in real time. He published a remarkably modest complaint. He suggested his country's government should drop its sacred mission to save the world and focus on making daily life a little easier for the people living under it. The Tsar personally declared Chaadaev officially insane. He assigned a doctor to check on his condition and placed him under permanent house arrest. Suggesting a government fix the drains is standard political critique. To understand why an empire treated it as a dangerous heresy, we have to trace a bug injected into Western civilization 1600 years ago. For its first 3 centuries, the Christian Church was hunted by the Roman Empire because they refused to treat the state as a divine entity. They insisted their kingdom was not of this world. In the year 324, Emperor Constantine legalized the faith and showered it with patronage. He also held on to his title of Pontifex Maximus, the chief priest of the Roman state religion. Constantine sacralized the state. He took the private, unadministrable work of the human soul and locked it inside the bureaucratic container of a political empire. This inverted the foundational rule of the entire movement. A faith defined by its total rejection of earthly power became the ultimate blueprint for world-conquering regimes. Centuries later, that structural bug migrated north to Russia through the concept of the Third Rome. This began as a quiet 16th-century monk's plea for his community to preserve their faith internally after the fall of Constantinople. The Muscovite court hijacked that theology. They stripped away the quiet spiritual duty and retooled it into an outward, aggressive ideology of universal dominion. Look at the state's branding. In 1497, the ruler of Moscow adopted the Byzantine double-headed eagle, an ancient symbol declaring two-fronted political dominion. The moment that bird landed on the state seal, the government's primary mandate shifted. It was no longer an institution responsible for protecting people. It was a cosmic instrument responsible for saving the world. State power constantly tries to absorb the soul because true spiritual work is slow, solitary, and incredibly difficult. A government can manufacture highly visible counterfeit alternatives, like cheap, elaborate parades, sweeping national mythologies, and fake historic destinies, distributed to the masses in a single afternoon. By the 19th century, the Russian Empire institutionalized this counterfeit through a doctrine called the Uarov triad: orthodoxy, autocracy, and nationhood. This formula formally bound the citizen's spiritual salvation directly to the emperor's political survival. This explains why Pyotr Chaadaev was locked in his house. In a system where the state is the soul, demanding the government focus on plumbing dismantles its entire cosmic justification. The regime had to label him a madman because the alternative was admitting they were failing contractors. When a government claims responsibility for ultimate meaning, it sets an impossible standard. When the inevitable systemic crises hit, the state has exactly 2 options: deliver literal miracles or resort to violent tyranny. Yet, the moment the new, supposedly secular modern republic formed, they immediately restored the medieval imperial bird right back onto the national crest. The specific ideological beliefs poured into a nation will change, but the shape of a sacralized government is immortal, and the container always outlives the contents. This category mistake occurs anywhere modern political parties promise ultimate spiritual salvation, or whenever secular ideologies demand religious obedience. Regardless of the geography or the specific religion involved, Merging the state with the soul crosses every cultural boundary, reliably producing the exact same structural fanaticism. Pyotr Chaadaev understood something we continually forget. True, sustainable patriotism should never require a burning, sacred passion. It should look more like quiet loyalty to a competent administrative arrangement. A state cannot save your soul, but if it remembers its proper scale, it can fix the drains.